The entire restaurant went dead silent the moment a single father walked through those doors, not because of who he was, but because of who he was walking toward. A billionaire sat alone at a corner table, mascara-stained cheeks catching the dim light, abandoned by a date who never showed. 30 years old. More money than most people see in 10 lifetimes, and completely, utterly alone. But when their eyes met across that room, something shifted. Because he wasn't just any man, he was her ex-brother-in-law. And what happened next would destroy everything they thought they knew about family, loyalty, and love. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you're here for the drama, hit that like button because this is just the beginning. The thing about humiliation is that it doesn't announce itself. It creeps in slowly, settles into your bones, makes itself at home before you even realize what's happening. Ava Sterling knew this now. She sat at table 14 in Marcello's, one of Manhattan's most exclusive Italian restaurants, watching couples lean into each other across candlelit tables. The kind of place where reservations required 3 weeks' notice and connections that money alone couldn't buy. She'd been here dozens of times for business dinners, charity events, occasions where her presence commanded respect. Tonight, she was just another woman waiting for a man who wasn't coming. 47 minutes. She'd checked her phone so many times the screen had dimmed from her repeated touches. No texts, no calls. Just the last message she'd sent herself, a reminder that read 7:30 p.m., Marcello's. Don't be late. The irony wasn't lost on her. Ma'am, can I refresh your water? The waiter's voice carried that particular tone, professional sympathy wrapped in polite discomfort. He'd asked the same question twice already. I'm fine, thank you. Ava's smile was practiced, the same one she used in boardroom negotiations when someone questioned her decisions. It never reached her eyes. He hesitated, glancing at the untouched breadbasket, the single wine glass she'd been nursing for the better part of an hour. Perhaps I could bring out an appetizer while you... I said I'm fine. The edge in her voice made him retreat. She immediately regretted it, but apologies required vulnerability, and she'd already shown enough of that tonight. Around her, the restaurant hummed with life. A couple 3 tables over was celebrating an anniversary, 25 years judging by the silver balloon tied to the woman's chair. Near the window, a young man was down on one knee, ring box open, his girlfriend's hands pressed to her mouth in shock. Even the bartender was flirting with a regular, their laughter cutting through the soft jazz playing overhead. Everyone had someone. Everyone except her. Ava pulled out her phone again, fingers hovering over Marcus's contact. Marcus Chen, the man her assistant had vetted, the one her best friend Jenna had sworn was different from the others. Successful entrepreneur, never married, shared her love of contemporary art and obscure French films. On paper, he was perfect. In reality, he was a no-show who hadn't even bothered to cancel. She started typing a message, deleted it, tried again, deleted it again. What was the point? Calling him out wouldn't change anything. Men like Marcus, men in her world, had options. They didn't waste time with explanations when they could simply move on to the next opportunity. Your date must be running very late. The voice came from her left. Ava turned to find an older woman at the neighboring table. White hair swept into an elegant bun, wedding ring catching the light as she reached for her husband's hand. He's just stuck in traffic, Ava lied smoothly. Of course. The woman's knowing look said she didn't believe it for a second. Men these days, no sense of punctuality. Her husband chuckled, squeezing her fingers. You made me wait 40 minutes on our first date, dear. That was different. I actually showed up. The words hung in the air, gentle but devastating. Ava turned back to her phone, jaw tight. She could feel it, the weight of eyes on her back, the whispered speculation, the pity radiating from every direction. That's Ava Sterling. Yes, that Ava Sterling, the one from Sterling Innovations, billions in tech patents. And she's sitting here alone like some... She signaled for the check. Pride was expensive, but she'd pay any price to escape this moment. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for her purse. Not from sadness, she told herself, but from anger. At Marcus for standing her up. At Jenna for setting up this disaster. At herself for believing, even for a moment, that this time might be different. Miss Sterling? Ava looked up, expecting the waiter. Instead, she found herself staring at someone she hadn't seen in nearly 3 years. Daniel Hayes stood beside her table, 5-year-old daughter pressed against his leg, those same steady brown eyes she remembered from family gatherings. He was thinner than before, tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep, wearing jeans and a button-down that had seen better days. His dark hair was slightly too long, curling at his collar. He looked nothing like the polished executives she usually encountered. He looked real. Daniel? The name came out smaller than she intended. I heard you might need some company. He gestured to the empty chair across from her. Is this seat taken? Ava's mind went blank. Of all the people to witness this moment, it had to be him. Her sister's ex-husband. The man Claire had divorced 2 years ago in a split so bitter it had fractured their entire family. She'd only seen him once since then, briefly, at their father's funeral, an awkward exchange of condolences before Claire's presence made him leave early. What are you doing here? She winced at how harsh it sounded. Daniel's daughter tugged on his sleeve. She had his eyes, his slight build, her dark hair pulled into pigtails that were already coming loose. Daddy, you said we could sit. I know, sweetheart. Just give me a second. He looked back at Ava, something apologetic in his expression. I know this is strange, and I promise I'm not stalking you or anything creepy like that, but I was having dinner with Mia at that pizza place down the street, and I saw your Instagram story, the one you posted 2 hours ago. Ava's stomach dropped. She'd forgotten about that, the photo of the restaurant's exterior, caption reading finally taking a chance on love with a heart emoji, posted in a moment of hopeful stupidity before everything fell apart. And then I saw Claire's post in the group chat, Daniel continued quietly, the one about how your date wasn't going to show, how she'd warned Marcus you were high maintenance and emotionally unavailable, how it was going to be hilarious watching you sit there alone. The air left Ava's lungs. Claire had sabotaged her. Her own sister had deliberately destroyed this before it even started. I don't... Ava's voice cracked. She cleared her throat, trying again. I don't need your pity. I'm not offering pity. Daniel pulled out the chair, settling into it while Mia climbed onto his lap. I'm offering dinner. There's a difference. Why? Because you didn't deserve that. What Claire did. He adjusted Mia so she wasn't blocking his view. You never deserved how she treated you. The words hit harder than they should have. Ava had spent years building walls against her sister's cruelty, telling herself it didn't matter, that success was the best revenge. But sitting here, rejected and exposed, those walls felt paper thin. We're not family anymore, she said finally. You don't owe me anything. No, Daniel agreed. We're not family. But that doesn't mean I'm going to watch someone I actually liked suffer through your sister's games without at least offering an alternative. Mia was watching Ava with open curiosity, head tilted to one side. Are you sad? Mia, Daniel started. It's okay. Ava found herself smiling despite everything. Yeah, kiddo, I'm a little sad. Why? Because sometimes people are mean for no good reason. Mia considered this seriously. My mom is mean sometimes. She made Daddy cry once. Mia, Daniel's voice carried a warning now. It's true. I heard you in the bathroom after she called about the lawyer money. Daniel's face flushed. How about we talk about something else, like how you almost got sent home from school today for telling Mrs. Peterson that butterflies are just fancy moths with better marketing. They are, Mia insisted. You said so yourself. I said that's one interpretation. Not that you should argue with your teacher about it. Watching them interact did something strange to Ava's chest. This was so far removed from her world of board meetings and investor calls. So normal, so messy, so completely, entirely real. The waiter appeared, eyebrows rising at the new occupants of her table. Will you be ordering now? Ava looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at her. Can you give us a minute? She asked. When the waiter left, Ava leaned forward. You really don't have to do this. I was about to leave anyway. Were you going somewhere better? No, but then stay. Daniel's expression softened. Look, I know this is weird. Trust me, I know. But Mia hasn't eaten anything except pizza crust in 3 days because she's decided cheese is morally complicated, and I'm desperately hoping a nice restaurant will trick her into consuming actual nutrients. So you'd actually be doing me a favor, cheese isn't morally complicated, Mia announced. It's made from cow milk, and cows are nice, but then we steal their milk, and that's not fair. We've had this conversation, Daniel said tiredly. It's still true. Despite everything, the humiliation, the betrayal, the sheer absurdity of this situation, Ava laughed. Actually laughed. It bubbled up from somewhere she'd forgotten existed, breaking through the careful composure she'd maintained all evening. Okay, she heard herself say. Okay, yeah. Let's have dinner. Daniel's smile was genuine, crinkling the corners of his eyes. Yeah? Yeah. But I'm warning you, I'm ordering the most expensive thing on the menu. And wine. Lots of wine. As long as you help me convince Mia that the pasta is ethically sourced. I make no promises. The waiter returned, and suddenly Ava found herself ordering not for one, but for 3. Daniel chose the chicken marsala. Mia, after considerable negotiation, agreed to try the butter noodles if they were served plain, no green things, and definitely no cheese unless it's the good kind that doesn't come from sad cows. All our cheese is from happy cows, the waiter assured her with barely concealed amusement. How do you know? Mia, Daniel warned. I'm just asking. As the waiter retreated, Ava found herself relaxing into her chair. The other diners had lost interest, moving on to their own dramas. The older couple nearby had stopped watching. Even her phone, sitting silent on the table, seemed less important. So, Daniel said, breaking a piece of bread, how's the empire building going? Is that a real question or small talk? Can it be both? Ava considered this. It's going. We just acquired a smaller firm in Seattle. Good patents, terrible management. I spent 6 weeks cleaning house. Sounds brutal. It was necessary. She paused. That's what I told myself anyway. But nothing. Business is business. She took a sip of wine, letting the silence stretch. How's architecture? Daniel's laugh was hollow. Non-existent, mostly. Turns out divorce lawyers are expensive, and custody battles don't pay themselves. I'm doing drafting work for a firm in Queens. It's not designing buildings, but it keeps the lights on. I'm sorry. Don't be. I made my choices. He glanced at Mia, who was arranging breadsticks into some kind of structure. I'd make them again. The weight behind those words settled between them. Ava remembered the divorce, how Claire had painted Daniel as controlling, absent, impossible to live with, how she'd fought for full custody, claiming he was unstable, how the family had rallied around Claire because that's what you did. You supported your own, regardless of the truth. Ava had been the only one who'd questioned it, the only one who'd asked why Daniel never defended himself, the only one who'd noticed how quiet he'd gone, how hollow. Claire told everyone you cheated, Ava said quietly. At Thanksgiving, she said that's why she left. I know what she said. Did you? Daniel looked up from Mia's breadstick architecture. No, but it was easier to let people believe it than fight about what actually happened. Which was? Nothing dramatic. Nothing anyone would understand. He helped Mia balance a particularly ambitious piece of her structure. We just stopped being real with each other, stopped trying. She wanted the version of me she'd imagined, and I wanted the version of her I'd fallen for, and neither of those people existed anymore. The actual humans we'd become couldn't stand each other. Ava absorbed this. She made it sound like you destroyed the family. Yeah, well, she needed someone to blame, and I was convenient. Daniel's voice held no bitterness, just resignation. How's she doing anyway? Still with that venture capitalist? Marcus Chen, Sal. Daniel's head snapped up. Wait, Marcus Chen? The guy who just stood you up? The very same. Jesus Christ. He ran a hand through his hair. That's why she sabotaged it. She's dating him. The pieces clicked together. Ava felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. Claire was dating Marcus. Claire had set up this blind date. Claire had ensured Marcus wouldn't show. Not just sabotage. Humiliation. She wanted me to feel this, Ava said slowly. She wanted me to know what it's like to be rejected. To sit here alone. To be pitied. Probably. Why? Daniel met her eyes. Because you're successful. Because you're independent. Because you didn't need permission from anyone to build your life. And that makes her crazy. We're sisters. Yeah, that's usually when it hurts the most. The food arrived, interrupting the moment. Mia's butter noodles came with a small side of vegetables that she immediately pushed to the edge of her plate. Daniel's chicken smelled incredible. Ava's seafood risotto was plated like art. For several minutes, they ate in silence. Not uncomfortable, just quiet. The kind of quiet that didn't demand filling. "This is really good," Ava said finally. "Yeah?" Daniel smiled. "Better than eating alone?" "Jury's still out." "Fair enough." Mia had been watching them both, twirling noodles around her fork without eating. "Are you Daddy's friend?" "I used to be," Ava said carefully. "Why not anymore?" "Because sometimes adults make things complicated." "That's dumb." "Mia," Daniel interjected. "It is. If you like someone, just be friends. It's not hard." She finally ate a noodle, considering. "Unless they're mean, then you should tell them to stop being mean. And if they don't stop, you don't have to be friends anymore." "That's very wise," Ava said. "I know." Mia returned to her noodles with renewed focus. Daniel shook his head fondly. "She's been like this since she could talk. No filter whatsoever." "I like it. It's refreshing." "Wait until she tells your hairdresser that your roots are showing." "That happened?" "Last month. I've never apologized so much in my life." Ava laughed again, and this time it felt easier, natural. Like maybe she could remember how to do this. How to just be a person instead of a brand, a reputation, a net worth. They talked through the rest of dinner. Small things, mostly. Daniel told her about Mia's school, how she'd been struggling with math but excelling at creative writing, how she'd written a story about a dragon who was afraid of fire and had to learn to be brave in different ways. "She gets her creativity from you," Ava said, "or her stubbornness from Claire." "Maybe both." Ava shared stories about her work, but edited carefully. Nothing about hostile takeovers or fired executives. She told him about the engineer who'd created a new interface design using biomimicry, copying how octopuses change color. About the intern who'd accidentally improved their main algorithm while trying to fix what she thought was a bug. "You really love it," Daniel observed. "Love what?" "What you do. I can hear it in your voice." Ava paused, fork halfway to her mouth. "Most people think I'm just ruthless." "You can be both, ruthless and passionate. They're not mutually exclusive." "Claire says I care more about work than people." "Claire says a lot of things." Daniel's tone was neutral, but his eyes were serious. "Most of them say more about her than whoever she's talking about." The check arrived. Ava reached for it immediately, but Daniel was faster. "I've got it," he said. "Absolutely not. I invited you to stay." "Actually, I invited myself. There's a difference." "Daniel." "Ava." He held the check out of reach. "I'm not letting you pay for the meal that was supposed to save you from a terrible evening. That's not how this works. You can't afford this place." The words came out before she could stop them. Harsh, presumptuous. True, but cruel in their truth. Daniel's expression didn't change, but something shuddered behind his eyes. "You're right. I can't. But I'm still paying." "I didn't mean—" "I know what you meant." He pulled out a credit card, jaw tight. "It's fine." It wasn't fine. Ava could see that. But she didn't know how to fix it without making it worse. So she sat there feeling like an asshole while Daniel signed the receipt and Mia finished the last of her noodles. They left together, stepping out into the cool Manhattan evening. The city was alive around them, taxis honking, people rushing past, the perpetual motion that never stopped, never slowed. "Well," Daniel said awkwardly, "thanks for letting us crash your evening. Thanks for making it less awful than it could have been." They stood there, uncertain. Mia was already pulling on Daniel's hand, eager to go home. The moment was ending, and Ava felt something close to panic at the thought of returning to her empty penthouse, her empty life. "Daddy!" Mia tugged harder. "We need to go. My recital is in 2 days and I haven't practiced my turns." "Your turns are fine, sweetheart." "They're not fine. Miss Jennifer said I need to work on my spotting." Daniel looked at Ava apologetically. "Sorry. She's been stressed about this dance thing all week." "You dance?" Ava asked Mia. "Ballet. Well, pre-ballet. But next year I might get to do real ballet if I'm good enough." She demonstrated a wobbly spin right there on the sidewalk.
See, I need to practice. That looked pretty good to me. Adults always say that. Mia sighed dramatically. You should come watch.
Then you'll see I need practice. Mia, I don't think, Daniel started. It's Saturday at 3 at the dance studio in Amsterdam. You should come. Mia looked at Ava with such earnest hopefulness that something cracked in Ava's chest. I don't know if that's... Please. No one ever comes to watch except Daddy, and sometimes he has to work, and then it's just me and all the other kids who have their whole families there. Daniel put a hand on Mia's shoulder. Sweetheart, Ava's very busy. She probably has important meetings and... Actually, Ava heard herself say, I'm free Saturday. Both Daniel and Mia stared at her. You are? Daniel asked carefully. Yeah, I mean, if it's okay with you, I don't want to intrude or make things weird. It's not weird, Mia bounced excitedly. It's perfect. You can sit with Daddy and clap really loud when I do my routine. Daniel looked at Ava for a long moment, something unreadable in his expression. You're sure? No, Ava admitted, but I'm saying yes anyway. Okay then. A small smile tugged at his mouth. Saturday at 3, don't be late. I'm never late. Tell that to Marcus Chen. The joke landed and they both laughed. Mia was already pulling Daniel toward the subway entrance, chattering about her costume and the music and how she hoped she wouldn't forget the choreography. See you Saturday, she called back to Ava. See you Saturday, Ava echoed. She watched them disappear into the crowd, Daniel's hand firmly holding Mia's, their figures growing smaller until they vanished entirely. Then she pulled out her phone. The Instagram story was still up. She deleted it. Marcus's contacts stared back at her. She blocked his number. Claire's last message, a group chat including half their family, sat unopened. She left it that way. Instead, she opened a new note and typed, Saturday, 3 p.m., dance recital, Amsterdam. A reminder for an event she didn't understand, for people who weren't her family anymore. In a world so different from her own, it might as well be another planet. But when she climbed into the back of the Uber, heading toward her penthouse in Tribeca, she wasn't thinking about the failed date, wasn't replaying the humiliation or planning her response to Claire. She was thinking about Mia's wobbly spin on the sidewalk, about Daniel's quiet kindness, about the way dinner had felt less like obligation and more like something she couldn't quite name. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jenna. How did it go? Tell me everything. Ava stared at the message, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Finally, she typed, It didn't, but something else did. I'll explain later. She put the phone away, watching the city blur past the window. Somewhere in Queens, Daniel was probably putting Mia to bed, reading her stories, checking her ballet shoes for the 100th time. Somewhere in Manhattan, Claire was probably laughing with Marcus, celebrating a successful sabotage. And somewhere between those two worlds, Ava sat in the back of a car, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Terrifying, irrational, completely inappropriate hope. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. The rest of the week moved like sludge through a drain, slow, heavy, impossible to speed up no matter how much Ava wanted it to. Wednesday brought a board meeting that should have commanded her full attention. Instead, she found herself doodling ballet shoes in the margins of her notes while the CFO droned on about quarterly projections. Marcus Chen's firm had been one of their potential partners. Past tense. She'd killed that deal in an email so cold her assistant had asked if she was feeling all right. Thursday, she fired 3 executives for incompetence she'd been tolerating for months. Her tolerance threshold had apparently evaporated somewhere between the humiliation at Marcello's and the moment Mia had asked her to come watch her dance. Friday afternoon, Jenna cornered her in her office.
Okay, what the hell is going on with you? Jenna dropped into the leather chair across from Ava's desk, designer heels kicked off, expression demanding answers. You've been weird all week, and don't say you're fine because I've known you since college and you're definitely not fine. Ava closed her laptop. I'm going to a children's ballet recital tomorrow. Jenna blinked. I'm sorry, what? A ballet recital.
You know, kids in tutus, bad piano music, proud parents filming on their phones. I know what a ballet recital is. I'm asking why you're going to one. Because I was invited. By who? Jenna leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Wait, did you start dating someone with a kid? Because that's a terrible rebound from Marcus, and I say this with love. It's not a rebound. It's... Ava trailed off, unsure how to explain. Do you remember Claire's ex-husband? The one she said cheated on her with his secretary or something? He didn't cheat, and there was no secretary. Ava stood, moving to the window overlooking Madison Avenue. His daughter invited me, after her dad showed up at Marcello's to rescue me from my disaster of an evening. The silence behind her was deafening. Start from the beginning, Jenna said slowly, and don't skip anything. So Ava told her. All of it. Marcus's no-show, Claire's sabotage, Daniel appearing like some kind of divorced guardian angel with his 5-year-old in tow, the dinner that shouldn't have worked but somehow did, the invitation that she'd accepted without thinking. When she finished, Jenna was quiet for a long moment. You're going to see your ex-brother-in-law and his daughter at a dance recital, Jenna said finally. The same ex-brother-in-law your sister destroyed in the divorce. Yes. The same sister who's currently dating the guy who just humiliated you. Yes. And you think this is a good idea because... I don't. Ava turned to face her. I think it's probably a terrible idea, but I'm doing it anyway. Jenna studied her, head tilted. You like him. I don't even know him. Not really. But you want to. Did she? Ava wasn't sure. Daniel Hayes was a complication she didn't need, attached to a history that should have stayed buried. But there was something about the way he'd looked at her across that table, not like she was Ava Sterling, tech mogul, but like she was just someone who deserved better than what she'd gotten. He was kind, Ava said quietly. Not performative kind. Just kind. Like it didn't cost him anything. Everything costs something. I know. Especially this. If Claire finds out, Claire doesn't get a vote in my life. She'll make it her business anyway. Jenna stood, grabbing her shoes. But fine. Go to the recital. Just be careful, okay? I know you think you're impervious to getting hurt, but you're not. I know that too. After Jenna left, Ava sat alone in her office as the sun set over Manhattan. Her phone sat on the desk, Claire's messages still unread. 23 texts in the family group chat, each one more gleeful than the last about how Marcus had dodged a bullet by standing up the Ice Queen. Her mother had defended her, briefly, then changed the subject to her garden. Her father would have said something, would have called Claire out, but he'd been dead for 18 months, and the family dynamics he'd held together had splintered without him. Ava picked up her phone, fingers hovering over Claire's contact. Then she put it down. Saturday. That's what mattered now. She left the office at 7, earlier than she had in months. Saturday morning arrived with rare October sunshine and Ava's complete uncertainty about what one wore to a children's ballet recital. Her closet, full of power suits and cocktail dresses, offered no answers. She settled on dark jeans and a cashmere sweater, then changed into slacks, then back to jeans. You're being ridiculous, she told her reflection. Her reflection didn't disagree. The dance studio was a converted warehouse space on Amsterdam Avenue, sandwiched between a bodega and a laundromat. Nothing like the sleek Pilates studios Ava usually frequented. The front window was plastered with photos of smiling kids in various dance poses, and through the glass doors she could see parents already gathering, claiming chairs, setting up phones on tripods. Ava checked her phone. 2:47 p.m. She was early, habitually, compulsively early. The door chimed when she entered, and immediately the noise hit her. Children shrieking, parents chatting, someone's baby crying, the thump of feet overhead where the actual studio must be. It smelled like sweat and hairspray, and the particular brand of chaos that came from containing 30 small humans in one space. Can I help you? A woman in yoga pants and a studio t-shirt approached, clipboard in hand. I'm here for the recital. Mia Hayes? Oh, sure. Parents are gathering in the studio upstairs. You can head on up. I'm not her parent, just a... What was she? A family friend. That's fine. The more the merrier. The woman gestured to a narrow staircase. Fair warning, it gets loud. That turned out to be an understatement. The studio was packed. Folding chairs arranged in rows, already mostly full. Along one wall, a group of girls in pink leotards and tutus were warming up, their teacher trying unsuccessfully to get them to focus.
Parents were everywhere, filming, adjusting their kids' hair, nervously checking programs. Ava stood in the doorway, suddenly aware of how little she belonged here. "You came!" Mia materialized out of nowhere, launching herself at Ava's legs. She was already in costume, pink tutu, matching leotard, hair pulled into a bun so tight it had to hurt. Her face was flushed with excitement. "Hey, kiddo." Ava steadied herself against the unexpected hug. "You look great." "Do I?" "Because Jenny Wexler said my bun is crooked, but Daddy said it's fine. And I can't tell if he's lying because he always says everything is fine even when it's not. Your bun looks perfect. You're lying too." "Maybe a little." Mia grinned, then grabbed Ava's hand. "Come on! You have to sit with Daddy!" She was pulled through the crowd before she could protest, weaving between parents and camera equipment until they reached a row near the front. Daniel was there, looking distinctly uncomfortable in a button-down shirt that was too nice for a kid's recital, holding 2 seats against the tide of incoming parents. "You made it," he said, and the relief in his voice was palpable. "Told you I would." "Yeah, but I thought maybe you'd come to your senses." "Still time for that." "Mia!" The teacher's voice cut through the noise. "We're lining up." "I have to go." Mia squeezed Ava's hand once more, then darted back to her group. Ava slid into the saved seat beside Daniel. It was warm in the studio, bodies pressed close together, the air thick with anticipation. She could feel the heat of his arm next to hers, not quite touching, but close enough. "Thanks for coming," Daniel said quietly. "She's been talking about it all week. Pretty sure she told her entire class that someone important was coming to watch." "I'm not important." "Try telling her that." The lights dimmed slightly, and the teacher clapped her hands for attention. "Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our fall recital. The girls have been working so hard, and we're so proud of them. Now, let's give them a big round of applause as they show you what they've learned." The music started, something classical that Ava didn't recognize tinny through the portable speaker, and the first group of girls shuffled onto the makeshift stage area. They were younger than Mia, maybe 3 or 4, and their routine consisted mostly of spinning in circles and waving their arms. Half of them forgot to move entirely. One started crying, another waved enthusiastically at her parents in the front row. It was chaos. It was also kind of perfect. Ava found herself smiling despite herself, watching these tiny humans try their best, completely unself-conscious in their imperfection. No one cared that they weren't professional. They were just kids, trying something hard, supported by people who loved them. When had she last done anything just for the joy of trying? "That's going to be Mia's group next," Daniel murmured. "She's the 4th one from the left when they line up." "Is she nervous?" "Terrified. She threw up this morning." "Daniel, it's fine. She does it before everything that scares her. Dance recitals, school presentations. That one time we went to see Santa at the mall." He ran a hand through his hair. "I keep telling her it's okay to be scared, but I don't think she believes me." "Does she get that from you or Claire?" "Me, unfortunately. Claire's never been afraid of anything in her life." The first group finished to enthusiastic applause, and Mia's group filed onto the stage. Ava spotted her immediately, 4th from the left, just like Daniel said, standing with her arms in first position, face serious with concentration. The music changed to something lighter, more playful. The girls began their routine. Mia was good, not perfect. Her turns were a little shaky, and once she looked like she forgot the next step. But she was trying so hard, every movement deliberate and careful. And when she spotted Daniel and Ava in the crowd, her entire face lit up. That smile hit Ava like a physical thing. She watched this little girl, this child who barely knew her, dance like the most important people in her world were watching. And maybe they were. Daniel was filming on his phone with one hand, but his eyes never left his daughter. Pride and love and something fierce and protective radiated off him in waves. This was what family looked like, Ava realized. Not the polished holiday cards her mother insisted on, not the obligation dinners where everyone performed their roles. This, showing up, bearing witness, loving someone enough to sit through imperfect routines and off-key music just to see them try. The routine ended. The applause was thunderous, probably too loud for the actual quality of the performance, but no one cared. These parents were clapping for effort, for bravery, for their kids getting up there at all. Daniel was on his feet immediately, whooping loud enough to make Ava laugh. She stood too,
clapping hard, and watched Mia's face split into the biggest grin she'd ever seen. The recital continued through several more groups, but Ava barely paid attention. She was too aware of Daniel beside her, of the way his knee bounced anxiously until Mia finished, of how he relaxed afterward like he'd been holding his breath. When it was over, the studio dissolved into controlled chaos again. Parents swarmed their kids, cameras clicking, excited chatter filling the space. Mia fought her way through the crowd and launched herself at Daniel. "Did you see? Did you see me not fall?" "You were amazing, sweetheart." Daniel lifted her up despite her getting too big for it. "Best one up there." "You have to say that. You're my dad." Doesn't make it less true. Mia turned to Ava, still in Daniel's arms. "What did you think?" Ava felt the weight of that question. This kid genuinely wanted her opinion, valued it somehow. When was the last time someone had looked at her like that? Like what she thought actually mattered beyond her bank account or business connections? "I think you were brave," Ava said honestly. "And that turn sequence in the middle? The one where you had to go left, then right, then left again? That was really hard and you did it perfectly." Mia's eyes went wide. "You were really watching. Most adults just say good job, but don't actually know what happened." "I was watching." "See, Daddy? I told you my turns were getting better." "I never doubted it," Daniel said, setting her down. "Now go change before you overheat in that tutu." Mia scampered off, and Daniel turned to Ava. "Thank you for coming, for actually paying attention. She's going to be talking about this for weeks." It wasn't hard. Still, it means something. He paused. "There's a pizza place around the corner. Nothing fancy, but if you wanted to grab dinner with us..." The smart answer was no. This was already more involvement than she'd planned. One recital, fulfill the obligation, go back to her normal life. But standing there in that crowded studio, still hearing the echo of Mia's laughter, Ava didn't want to be smart. "Yeah," she said. "Pizza sounds good." The place was exactly what Daniel had promised. Nothing fancy. Red vinyl booths, checkered tablecloths, the smell of garlic and tomato sauce thick in the air. They squeezed into a booth near the back, Mia still in her tutu because she'd refused to change, bouncing with post-performance adrenaline. "Plus, can I get a Shirley Temple with extra cherries?" "You can get 1 cherry," Daniel said. 2? 1.5. "That's not even possible." "Then I guess you're getting 1. Mia pouted, but it was half-hearted. She was too happy to commit to being upset. They ordered a large pizza with pepperoni on one half for Mia, vegetables on the other for the adults. Mia launched into a detailed play-by-play of the recital, narrating every moment, every near disaster, every triumph. And then Jenny almost kicked Sarah in the face during the turn section, but she didn't. And Miss Jennifer looked like she was going to have a heart attack, but she didn't either, and then we all remembered to curtsy at the end, even though Tommy Matthews forgot last time and just ran off stage. "Breathe," Daniel interrupted gently. Mia sucked in air dramatically, then continued. "And did you see how I didn't fall during the tricky part? Because last week I fell 3 times, and Miss Jennifer said I needed to focus more, and I did, and I didn't fall even once." "We're very proud," Ava said. The "we" slipped out before she could catch it. Daniel noticed she saw something flicker in his expression, but he didn't comment. The pizza arrived, and Mia's monologue finally slowed as she devoted attention to eating. Daniel relaxed back in the booth, and Ava realized how tired he looked. Not just regular tired, bone-deep exhausted. "Long week?" she asked quietly. "Isn't it always?" He took a sip of water. "The firm's been pushing hard on this commercial project. Lots of late nights. Mia's been staying with my mom more than I'd like." "Your mom's still in Brooklyn?" "Yeah, same house I grew up in. She keeps threatening to downsize, but never actually does it." He smiled slightly. "She asks about you sometimes." That surprised Ava. "Really?" "Yeah, she always liked you, said you were the only one in Claire's family who seemed like a real person." "What does that make the rest of them?" Her words were plastic and pompous, but I'm paraphrasing. Ava laughed. She remembered Daniel's mother, warm, blunt, the kind of woman who said exactly what she thought and didn't apologize for it. She'd made Ava nervous at first, at those awkward family gatherings, but then she'd pulled Ava aside once and said, "You're too smart to let them make you small." And Ava had never forgotten it. "How is she?" "Good, stubborn, refuses to admit she needs help with anything. Daniel pulled a piece of crust off his slice. She's been amazing with Mia, though. Don't know what I'd do without her. Daddy says Grandma teaches me bad words, Mia interjected through a mouthful of pizza. Mia. It's true. She said damn yesterday when she dropped the pasta pot. That's not a bad word, Daniel said. That's a mild word. What's a bad word? Nothing you need to know yet. Mia rolled her eyes with the exasperation of someone much older than 5. Adults are weird. Yes, Ava agreed. We are. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Around them, the restaurant hummed with Saturday evening energy. Families, couples, groups of friends, normal people living normal lives. Ava tried to remember the last time she'd done this. Just sat in a regular restaurant eating regular pizza, not networking or negotiating or performing. She couldn't. Can I ask you something? Daniel said suddenly. Sure. Why did you really come today? Ava considered lying, giving some polite answer about wanting to support Mia, about having free time, about it seeming like the nice thing to do. But Daniel's eyes were too direct, too honest. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe because Mia asked, and no one's asked me to do anything that simple in years. Maybe because you showed up at that restaurant when you didn't have to, and I wanted to return the favor. Maybe because I'm tired of my life being one long strategic decision, and this felt like something real. And is it real? I think so, but I'm not sure I'd recognize real anymore if it bit me. Daniel absorbed this. Yeah, I get that. Do you? Claire made everything about image, about what things looked like from the outside. I spent years trying to make our life match the picture she wanted, and somewhere in there I forgot what I actually wanted. He glanced at Mia, who was now drawing on her napkin with a crayon the waitress had brought. Took losing everything to figure out that most of it wasn't worth having in the first place. Do you regret it? The marriage? Yeah, but not the end of it. He met her eyes. Some things you have to lose before you realize they were never really yours. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning that Ava wasn't ready to unpack. I should probably go, she said, even though she didn't want to. It's getting late. Right, yeah. Daniel signaled for the check. Thanks again for coming. It really did mean a lot. Can we see you again? Mia asked suddenly, looking up from her drawing. Mia, Daniel started. What? I like her. She's nice, and she actually listens, and she came to my recital even though she probably had important business stuff to do. Ava's chest tightened. I like you too, kiddo. Then you should come over for dinner sometime. Daddy makes really good spaghetti. Well, sometimes he burns it, but when he doesn't burn it, it's really good. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement, Daniel muttered. Please? Mia's eyes were wide, hopeful. Just once? Ava looked at Daniel, expecting him to shut this down, to make excuses, to acknowledge how inappropriate this was getting. Instead, he shrugged. I mean, if you want to risk the potentially burnt spaghetti, you're serious? Why not? You've already survived a kid's recital and bargain pizza. Dinner at our place can't be worse than that. It was a bad idea. Ava knew this with absolute certainty. Getting more involved with Daniel and Mia would only complicate things. Claire would find out eventually. There would be consequences. But sitting there in that booth, watching Mia's hopeful expression and Daniel's tentative smile, Ava realized she didn't care about consequences anymore. Okay, she heard herself say. Yeah, dinner sounds good. Mia cheered loud enough to turn heads at neighboring tables. Daniel just smiled, something warm and genuine that made Ava's stomach flip. Next Saturday, he offered. 7 o'clock? Fair warning, the apartment's small and probably messy, and Mia will talk your ear off about her rock collection. I have a rock collection, Mia announced proudly. 37 rocks, all different. They're mostly just rocks from the park, Daniel said. They're special rocks. Next Saturday works, Ava said, committing before she could talk herself out of it. They exchanged numbers, actual phone numbers, not just Instagram handles or LinkedIn connections. Real contact information for real people planning a real dinner. When Ava finally left, stepping out into the cool October evening, her phone was already buzzing. Work emails, board member questions, a text from Jenna demanding details about the recital. She ignored all of it. Instead, she saved Daniel's number under his actual name, not Claire's ex or Daniel H., but just Daniel. And Mia's number, which was apparently Daniel's phone but designated for Mia's use, went in as Mia Hayes, rock collector. The subway ride back to Tribeca was crowded, bodies pressed together, the train rocking on old tracks. Ava stood holding a pole, surrounded by strangers, and felt more grounded than she had in months. Her penthouse was exactly as she'd left it, pristine, empty, expensive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that cost more than most people's cars, art that she'd bought because it was a good investment, not because she liked it. It felt hollow. She poured herself wine and stood at the window, looking out at the millions of lights, the millions of lives happening in those buildings. Somewhere out there, Daniel was probably giving Mia a bath, arguing about bedtime, reading stories about dragons who were afraid of fire. Ava's phone rang. Claire. She stared at the name on the screen, finger hovering over the answer button. Then she declined the call. Immediately, a text came through. We need to talk. Ava typed back, No, we don't. Mom said you've been avoiding the family chat. I've been busy. Too busy to respond to your own sister? Ava's jaw clenched. She could feel the trap being laid, the guilt trip Claire was so good at deploying. Years of this pattern, Claire demanding, Ava justifying, the family watching to see who would win. She typed, How's Marcus? The typing indicator appeared, then disappeared. Appeared again. What's that supposed to mean? You tell me. You're the one dating my blind date. The response was immediate. That's what this is about? You're mad about Marcus? Jesus, Ava, grow up. Not everything is about you. You sabotaged it. On purpose. I didn't sabotage anything. I told him the truth about what you're like. If he decided you weren't worth the trouble, that's on you. There it was. The blade slipped between ribs, precise and practiced. Ava could respond, could escalate, could fire back with her own cruelty. Instead, she wrote, I'm done with this conversation. Typical. Run away when things get hard. Goodbye, Claire. She blocked the number before Claire could respond. Her hand was shaking. She set the phone down, picked up her wine, drained half the glass in one swallow. The silence in her apartment was absolute. She thought about calling Jenna, about unloading everything, about getting validation that she'd done the right thing. But she didn't want validation. She wanted... Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She opened it cautiously. Hi, this is Mia. Daddy showed me how to text. Thank you for coming today. Here's a picture I drew of you. Attached was a photo of a crayon drawing, a stick figure with yellow hair and a big smile, standing next to two smaller stick figures labeled Me and Daddy. Above it, in careful child handwriting, Family. Ava's throat tightened. She saved the photo, then typed back, This is beautiful. Thank you. You're welcome. See you next Saturday. Can't wait. And she meant it. Whatever complicated mess this was becoming, whatever consequences were waiting, whatever damage Claire would try to inflict, Ava meant it. She finished her wine, looking at that crayon drawing on her phone screen. The stick figure looked happy. Ava couldn't remember the last time anyone had drawn her looking happy. Outside, the city glittered on, indifferent and eternal. Inside, something in Ava's carefully constructed world had shifted. She wasn't sure if it was breaking or finally starting to build into something real, but for the first time in longer than she could remember, she was willing to find out. The week that followed felt suspended somehow, like Ava was living in two timelines at once. In one, she was still Ava Sterling, ruthless CEO, strategic mind, woman who'd built an empire from her father's modest tech startup. She fired a VP on Tuesday for missing targets, acquired a competitor's patent portfolio on Wednesday, gave a keynote speech to 200 industry leaders on Thursday. In the other timeline, she was texting a 5-year-old about rocks. This one is from Central Park, and it has sparkles. Mia's message came with a blurry photo of what looked like ordinary gravel. Very sparkly, Ava typed back during a conference call, her camera off. Daddy says it's just mica, but I think it's magic. Could be both. That's what I said. The messages came at random times, during breakfast, late at night when Mia should have been sleeping, mid-afternoon when she was supposedly doing homework. Each one was a small detonation in Ava's otherwise controlled existence. She found herself checking her phone more, smiling at nothing, her assistant eyeing her suspiciously.
You're different this week, Jenna observed over lunch on Friday. They were at some new fusion place in Soho, the kind of restaurant where the menu required explanation and the portions required a microscope. Different how? I don't know. Less, Jenna waved her fork vaguely. Less like you're about to fire someone just for breathing wrong. I'm always professional. You're always terrifying. There's a difference. Jenna leaned forward. So are you going to tell me about the recital, or do I have to keep guessing? Ava had been avoiding this conversation all week. It was fine. Kids danced, parents clapped. Very wholesome. And? And what? And why do you keep smiling at your phone like a teenager with a crush? I'm not, Ava started, then stopped. Was she? His daughter texts me. About rocks. Jenna blinked. I'm sorry, what? She has a rock collection. She sends me pictures. Ava showed her the latest message, a stone that Mia claimed looked like a dragon egg. Oh no, Jenna said. What? You're getting attached. I'm not, Ava. You're smiling at pictures of rocks. You're getting attached. Jenna set down her fork, expression serious. Which would be fine if this was some normal situation. But this is your ex-brother-in-law and your psychotic sister's kid. She's not Claire's kid. She's Daniel's. You know what I mean. Ava did. She'd been trying not to think about it. I'm having dinner with them tomorrow. Your what? Dinner. At their apartment. 7 p.m. Jenna stared at her. You're having dinner at Daniel's apartment with him and his daughter. Yes. The same Daniel who Claire claims ruined her life. He didn't ruin anything. She did that herself. I'm not arguing about who's at fault. I'm saying this is complicated, messy. The kind of messy that ends with someone getting hurt. Jenna's voice softened. And I don't want it to be you. It won't be. How do you know? Ava didn't have an answer for that. She just knew that when she thought about canceling, about sending some polite excuse and retreating to her safe, controlled life, something in her chest constricted painfully. I have to do this, she said quietly. Why? Because I want to. The simplicity of it surprised her. Because for the first time in years, I want something that has nothing to do with business or strategy or proving anything to anyone. I just want to go have dinner with people who seem to actually like me. Jenna reached across the table, squeezing Ava's hand. Okay, but promise me you'll be careful, and if Claire finds out, she already knows something's wrong. I blocked her number. You what? After the recital. She called. I didn't answer. She got nasty over text. I blocked her. Jesus. Jenna sat back. How did your mother react? Haven't talked to her. Ava. I know. I'll call her. Eventually. Ava pushed her barely touched food around the plate. But not this weekend. This weekend I'm just going to be a person having dinner with other people and not thinking about family drama or corporate politics or anything else. Good luck with that. Saturday arrived with rain, the cold, relentless kind that made October feel like November and turned the city gray. Ava stood in front of her closet again, this irrational anxiety gnawing at her. What did one wear to dinner at a single dad's apartment in Queens? Her usual wardrobe felt wrong, too expensive, too deliberate, too much. She settled on jeans and a simple black sweater, then added a scarf because the rain made her cold, then took it off because it seemed pretentious, then put it back on because screw it, she was cold. The address Daniel had given her was in Astoria, a neighborhood Ava rarely visited. She took a car service because the subway felt too complicated in the rain, watching the city change outside her window as they crossed the bridge. Manhattan's glass towers gave way to Queens' more human-scaled buildings, the kind of neighborhood where people actually knew their neighbors, where corner stores still existed, where life happened on stoops and sidewalks. The building was a walk-up, red brick, probably built in the 70s. No doorman, no elevator. The kind of place that was slowly being priced out as the neighborhood gentrified, but still held on for now. Ava climbed to the third floor, slightly out of breath, and knocked on 3C. The door flew open immediately. You're here! Mia was already talking, pulling Ava inside. I've been waiting forever. Well, not forever. Daddy says I can't say forever unless it's actually been infinite time, but it felt like forever.
Do you want to see my rock collection? It's in my room. Daddy's making spaghetti, but it's not burnt yet. Mia, let her breathe, Daniel called from somewhere deeper in the apartment. The space was small. Ava could see that immediately. A living room that flowed into a kitchen, a hallway leading to what must be bedrooms. But it was lived in, comfortable. Mia's drawings covered the refrigerator. Books overflowed a shelf by the window. A worn couch faced a TV that had seen better days. Everything was clean but cluttered in the way homes with children always were. It was nothing like Ava's penthouse. It felt more like home than her penthouse ever had. Can I take your coat? Daniel emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. He was in jeans and a t-shirt, hair still damp from a shower, looking more relaxed than she'd seen him. Thanks. Ava shrugged out of her jacket, suddenly hyper-aware of how out of place she felt. It's really coming down out there. Yeah, weather's supposed to be terrible all weekend. He hung her coat on a hook by the door. Fair warning, the spaghetti's experimental. I'm trying a new sauce recipe. Should I be worried? Possibly. Mia was already tugging on Ava's hand. Come see my rocks, please. Let her settle in first, Daniel said. It's okay. Ava let herself be pulled down the hallway. I was promised a rock collection. I want to see this rock collection. Mia's room was exactly what Ava expected. Small, painted pink, covered in kid debris. Stuffed animals piled on the bed. Dance posters on the walls. A desk with homework scattered across it. And on a shelf, carefully arranged, were rocks. Dozens of them. All shapes and sizes, each one labeled with masking tape in Mia's careful handwriting. This one's from the beach, Mia explained, picking up a smooth gray stone. And this one I found in the park, and it has a fossil in it. See the line? And this one Daddy gave me from when he was little, and it's from a real mountain in Vermont. She went through each one, telling its story, and Ava found herself genuinely listening, not performing interest, not waiting for her turn to talk, just listening to this little girl narrate her collection with the seriousness of a museum curator. And this one, Mia said, picking up a small quartz crystal, is my favorite. Grandma gave it to me, and she said it's special because it catches the light. She held it up to the window, where the gray afternoon filtered through, making it glow faintly. See? It's beautiful. Do you want to hold it? Ava took the crystal carefully, feeling its weight in her palm. Thank you for showing me. You're welcome, Mia beamed. Most grown-ups just say, nice rocks, and don't really look, but you really looked. Something in Ava's chest cracked a little. Dinner, Daniel called from the kitchen. They ate at a small table by the window, rain streaking the glass, the apartment warm and bright against the gray outside. The spaghetti was actually good, not burnt, sauce rich with garlic and herbs, salad on the side that Mia refused to touch. 2 bites of lettuce, Daniel negotiated. Lettuce is rabbit food. You're not a rabbit, so 2 bites won't kill you. How do you know I'm not a rabbit? Because rabbits don't argue about vegetables. Maybe I'm a special arguing rabbit. Ava laughed, and they both looked at her. Sorry, this is just very different from my usual Saturday nights. What do you usually do? Mia asked. Work, mostly, or business dinners. Sometimes charity events. That sounds boring. Mia, Daniel said. It kind of is, Ava admitted. Boring, but expensive. They talked through dinner, easy conversation that flowed naturally. Daniel asked about her work, but not in the aggressive way most people did, not trying to find an angle or make a connection, just genuinely curious. Ava found herself explaining about a project she was excited about, a new AI interface that could help people with disabilities navigate technology more easily. That's actually cool, Daniel said. Like, genuinely useful cool, not just profitable cool. It can be both. Yeah, but how often is it? Not often enough, Ava conceded. Mia talked about school, about her friend Emma, who was moving away, about how her teacher was making them learn cursive, even though nobody uses cursive anymore except grandmas. I use cursive, Daniel protested. You're basically a grandma. I'm 32. Ancient. After dinner, Mia wanted to watch a movie, some animated thing about dragons that Ava had never heard of. They settled on the couch, Mia between them, and the opening credits rolled. Ava couldn't remember the last time she'd just sat and watched a movie. No phone, no laptop, No multitasking. Just watching. Halfway through, Mia fell asleep, head drooping against Daniel's shoulder. She does this every time, he whispered. Gets so excited about watching something that she exhausts herself before it's over. Should we wake her? Nah, let her sleep. They sat in silence, the movie playing, rain steady against the windows. Ava was acutely aware of Daniel's presence beside her, of the small space between them, of how easy it would be to close that distance. Can I ask you something? Daniel said quietly. Sure. Why are you really here? Ava had been expecting this question all evening. I told you, Mia invited me. Mia invites her entire class to everything. That's not an answer. She looked at him in the flickering TV light. I don't know. Maybe because this feels real and I'm tired of everything in my life feeling like a performance. And you think this is real? Isn't it? Daniel was quiet for a moment. I don't know. I want it to be, but I keep waiting for the part where it gets complicated, where Claire finds out, or your family gets involved, or you realize this isn't worth the drama. You think I can't handle drama? I think you shouldn't have to. He adjusted Mia carefully, making sure she was comfortable. You could have anyone, Ava, someone without an ex-wife who hates you, without a kid and all the baggage that comes with it, without all this mess. Maybe I don't want easy. Why not? Because easy is boring. Easy is predictable. Easy is another Marcus Chen who sees me as a trophy or a threat, but never as an actual person. She turned to face him. You see me as a person. Is that enough? I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out. Something shifted in Daniel's expression. He opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his face went tight. I need to take this, he said, carefully extracting himself from under Mia and heading to the kitchen. Ava couldn't hear the conversation, but she could see Daniel's body language through the doorway. Tense, defensive, angry. When he came back, his expression was carefully neutral. Everything okay? That was Claire. Ava's stomach dropped. How did she saw your car service drop you off. Her friend lives in the building across the street. Daniel sat down, but not as close this time. She's not happy. What did she say? Does it matter? Daniel, she said I'm using you to get back at her, that you're too naive to see I'm manipulating you, that this is going to blow up and hurt Mia, and I'm a terrible father for letting it happen. He ran both hands through his hair. And then she said she's calling her lawyer on Monday to revisit custody. The words hung in the air like smoke. She can't do that, Ava said. Can she? She can try. Whether she'll succeed is another question, but she can make it expensive and exhausting and drag Mia through another evaluation. His voice was flat, tired. Which is exactly what she wants. So what do we do? We? Daniel looked at her. Ava, there is no we here. This is my problem. My ex-wife, my custody arrangement, my mess. She's doing this because of me. She's doing this because she can't stand not being in control. It's not about you. It's never really about you. He stood, pacing to the window. But she's right about one thing. This is going to hurt Mia. So we just stop? Pretend this never happened? I don't know. He pressed his forehead against the glass. Maybe that would be easier. Ava felt something cold settle in her chest. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. What matters is Mia. And if seeing you means Claire's going to drag us back to court, means Mia has to sit through more evaluations and custody hearings, and watching her parents fight. He turned to face her. I can't do that to her. Not again. So Claire wins. This isn't about winning. It is to her. Daniel's jaw tightened. I know that, but I can't play that game. Not with Mia's life. Ava stood, anger surging through her. You're just going to let her bully you? Again? That's not fair. Isn't it? She controls everything. Who you see, what you do, how you live your life. Because you're too afraid to fight back. I'm not afraid. I'm exhausted. Daniel's voice rose slightly. Then he caught himself, glancing at Mia still sleeping on the couch. More quietly, you don't know what it's like, fighting her. The lawyers, the court dates, the evaluations where strangers ask your 5-year-old which parent she loves more. I spent 2 years in that hell. I can't go back. Even if it means letting her run your life forever. If that's what it takes to protect Mia, then yes. The conviction in his voice stopped Ava cold. She understood it intellectually. He was choosing his daughter, being a good parent, doing the right thing. But emotionally, it felt like rejection. Like she was being abandoned again, left alone because she was too complicated, too much trouble. I should go, she said quietly. Ava, no, you're right. This was a mistake, getting involved, thinking this could work. Claire's always going to be there, and you're always going to choose the path of least resistance. And I'm always going to be the problem that needs solving. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. She grabbed her jacket from by the door. Thanks for dinner. Tell Mia I said goodbye. Wait. Daniel followed her to the door but stopped, glancing back at Mia. He couldn't leave her alone, couldn't follow Ava out. Which meant this was it. Ava opened the door, stepped into the hallway. I'm sorry, Daniel said. Yeah, me too. She made it down 2 flights of stairs before the tears started. Stupid, irrational tears for something that had barely started, that she'd known was doomed from the beginning. She'd let herself hope anyway, let herself believe that maybe this time things could be different. The rain had intensified, coming down in sheets. Ava stood under the building's small awning, calling for a car, trying to compose herself before the driver arrived. Ava? She spun around. Daniel was there, soaked already, no jacket, hair plastered to his forehead. What are you doing? Mia is fine. My neighbor's watching her. I asked her to sit inside for 5 minutes. He was breathing hard, like he'd run down the stairs. I needed to say something before you left. Daniel, you made your choice. It's fine. It's not fine. And I didn't make a choice. I panicked. He moved closer, rain streaming down his face. Claire calling rattled me. It always does. She knows exactly which buttons to push, which threats to make. And my first instinct is always to retreat, to minimize damage, to protect what little stability Mia has. I understand that, but I'm tired of living that way. Tired of letting Claire dictate my life because I'm too scared to fight back. Tired of being alone because it's safer than taking a risk. He was standing right in front of her now, close enough that she could see water dripping from his eyelashes. You were right. I let her bully me. I have been for years. But I don't want to anymore. What are you saying? I'm saying I want this, whatever this is. I want to find out if it's real, if it could work, if there's something here worth fighting for. His voice dropped. I'm saying I'm choosing you. And yeah, that's terrifying, and Claire's going to make it hell, and I don't know how this ends, but I'm choosing it anyway. Ava's breath caught. Daniel? You don't have to decide anything right now. You can still leave, and I'd understand. But I needed you to know that if you stay, if you want to try this, I'm not going to run when it gets hard. Not this time. Rain poured between them, soaking through Ava's clothes, plastering her hair to her skull. She should get in the car that was pulling up to the curb, should thank him for the dinner and the honesty and go back to her safe, uncomplicated life. Instead, she grabbed the front of his wet t-shirt and kissed him. It wasn't gentle or tentative or any of the things first kisses were supposed to be. It was desperate and messy and tasted like rain and bad decisions and hope. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel's eyes were wide. Okay, Ava said. Okay, we'll try. Yeah? Yeah. But if your neighbor is watching Mia, we should probably go back upstairs before she calls child services. Daniel laughed, the sound breaking through the rain. Right, yes, good point. They ran back inside, dripping water everywhere, tracking puddles up the stairs. The neighbor, an elderly woman in a bathrobe, gave them a knowing look as they burst back into the apartment. Everything resolved? She asked, eyebrow raised. Yes, Mrs. Chen, thank you so much, Daniel said. The little one didn't even wake up. Sweet girl. She shuffled toward the door, pausing. Your ex-wife called my phone. Told me to tell you that you're making a mistake. Daniel's jaw tightened. I told her to mind her own business, Mrs. Chen continued. Good luck, you two. You'll need it. After she left, Daniel and Ava stood in the small entryway, soaking wet, staring at each other. We should probably talk about what just happened, Daniel said. Probably. Or we could not talk about it. Just see what happens. That's a terrible plan. I know. Mia stirred on the couch, mumbling something about dragons,
then settled back into sleep. I should actually go, Ava said quietly. For real this time, before we wake her up and have to explain why we're both drenched. Right, yeah. Daniel grabbed a towel from the bathroom, handed it to her. Can I see you again? Like, officially see you, not just accidentally run into each other at restaurants? I'd like that. Tomorrow? Coffee? I have a board meeting at 9. After? Noon works. They were being so careful now, so polite. Like if they moved too fast or said the wrong thing, whatever fragile thing they'd just created would shatter. Daniel walked her to the door, helped her back into her still damp jacket. Thank you, Ava said, for running after me, for choosing this even though it's complicated. Thank you for kissing me in the rain like we're in some terrible romantic movie. It was pretty terrible, wasn't it? The worst. His smile was soft. Want to do it again sometime? Definitely. The car was waiting downstairs. Ava rode back to Manhattan in wet clothes, replaying everything. The dinner, the fight, the kiss, all of it. Her phone buzzed constantly, work emails. Jenna texting, asking how it went. A voicemail from her mother that she didn't listen to. And one text from an unknown number. I know what you're doing, you won't win. Claire. Ava deleted it without responding. When she got home, she took a long hot shower, changed into dry clothes, and sat by her window with a glass of wine, watching the rain continue its assault on the city. Her phone buzzed again. Daniel. Mia woke up asking where you went. I told her you had to leave, but you'd see her soon. Hope that's okay. More than okay. Thank you for tonight. Even the dramatic rain scene, especially that. Get some sleep. Big day tomorrow. You too. She should sleep. Should rest before the board meeting, before the complicated conversation she'd have to have with Daniel about what this meant, what they were doing, how they would navigate Claire's inevitable retaliation. But instead, she opened her laptop and started drafting an email to her lawyer. If Claire wanted a fight, Ava would give her one, just not the fight Claire was expecting. The board meeting went long, stretching past noon into early afternoon. Ava sat through presentations about market positioning and revenue projections, nodding at appropriate moments while her mind was elsewhere. She kept checking her phone under the table, watching the time tick past their coffee date. At 12:47, she texted Daniel, still trapped. Maybe another hour? His response came immediately. No problem. I'm at the park with Mia anyway. Take your time. I'm sorry. Don't be. Work is work. But work wasn't just work anymore, and that realization settled over Ava like a weight. For years, she'd let meetings run long without thought, canceled personal plans without guilt, prioritized deals over people because that's what successful people did. Now she was sitting in this boardroom wanting desperately to be somewhere else, and that scared her more than she wanted to admit. Ava? The CFO's voice cut through her thoughts. Your thoughts on the Seattle integration timeline? She pulled herself back, refocusing. We're moving too slow. I want the transition complete by end of Q4, not Q1. Every week we delay costs us market position. That's aggressive. It's necessary. Make it happen. The meeting finally ended at 2:15. Ava grabbed her coat and was halfway to the elevator when her assistant caught her. Your mother called 3 times. She says it's urgent. Tell her I'll call her back. I did. She said to tell you that Claire is very upset and you need to handle this before it gets worse. Ava stopped. What exactly did she say? That's all, but she sounded... The assistant hesitated. Worried. Of course she was worried. Claire had undoubtedly called everyone in the family, spinning whatever narrative suited her purposes, making Ava the villain in a story she'd barely begun to understand herself. I'll handle it, Ava said, stepping into the elevator. She called her mother from the car. Finally, Eleanor Sterling answered on the first ring. Do you have any idea what's going on? Hello to you too, Mom. Don't hello me. Claire's beside herself. She says you're seeing Daniel. Her Daniel. He stopped being her Daniel when she divorced him. That's not the point. The family dynamic... What family dynamic? Ava cut in. The one where Claire gets to do whatever she wants and I'm supposed to smile and accept it? Where she can sabotage my dates and mock me in group chats, but I can't have dinner with someone she threw away? Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Is that what this is about? Getting back at her? No. The certainty in Ava's voice surprised even herself. It's not about Claire at all.
It's about me finally doing something because I want to, not because it's strategic or appropriate or approved by the family. And what about Mia? That poor child has been through enough without being dragged into whatever this is between you and your sister. Mia invited me. She's the one who wanted me there. She's 5 years old. She doesn't understand the complications. Maybe that's the point. Ava watched the city blur past the window. Maybe she sees something the rest of us are too complicated to see. Which is? That people can just like each other. That it doesn't have to be a strategy or a statement or a war. Eleanor sighed, the sound heavy with decades of managing family politics. I want you to be happy, sweetheart. You know that. But Claire is talking about lawyers, about custody disputes, about making this very ugly, and I'm worried that I'll embarrass the family, that you'll get hurt. The genuine concern in her mother's voice cracked something in Ava's armor. I'm already hurt, Mom. Claire made sure of that. The question is whether I'm going to let that stop me from trying to have something real. And you think Daniel is real? I think he might be, and I think that's worth finding out. Another pause, then, your father would have liked him, you know, Daniel. He always said Claire married the only decent person in her orbit and then spent years trying to destroy him for it. Ava's throat tightened. He said that? More than once, usually after family dinners where Claire had been particularly cruel. Eleanor's voice softened. Just be careful. And maybe warn Daniel about what's coming. Claire's already called her lawyer. I know, we'll handle it. We? After hanging up, Ava texted Daniel the address of the coffee shop near her office, then stared at her phone, thinking about the conversation. Her mother had essentially given her blessing, in her own roundabout way. But the warning about Claire's lawyer hung heavy. The coffee shop was crowded with the Sunday afternoon rush, people reading newspapers, students with laptops, couples on dates. Ava spotted Daniel at a corner table, Mia beside him with a coloring book, and what looked like her third hot chocolate, judging by the chocolate mustache. You made it, Daniel said, standing. Sorry I'm late. Board meetings are like black holes. They just keep expanding. It's fine. We've been entertained. He gestured at Mia's coloring book, which appeared to be a very elaborate drawing of what might be dragons, or possibly large dogs. She's an artist now. I've always been an artist, Mia said, without looking up. You just didn't notice. Ava laughed, sliding into the chair across from them. Fair point. A barista appeared and Ava ordered coffee. Black, no sugar, the same way she'd been drinking it since college. Daniel already had a cup in front of him, half finished, probably cold by now. So, he said once the barista left. Claire called my lawyer this morning. What did she say? That she's filing for an emergency custody review. Claims I'm exposing Mia to unstable influences and questionable judgment. I'm the unstable influence. You're the excuse. She's been looking for a reason to do this since the divorce finalized. Daniel rubbed his eyes, tired. My lawyer says we're fine. The existing custody arrangement is solid. I haven't done anything that would constitute endangerment, and Claire's documented history of vindictive behavior works in our favor. But it's going to cost money I don't have and put Mia through another round of evaluations. And even if we win, Claire will just find another reason to drag us back to court in 6 months. Mia had stopped coloring, listening despite her apparent focus on the drawing. Can I talk to you outside for a minute? Ava asked quietly. They stepped out into the cool afternoon, leaving Mia visible through the window. The rain had stopped, but everything was still wet, the city washed clean and gleaming. I want to help, Ava said. With what? The lawyer. The costs. Whatever you need. Daniel's expression hardened immediately. No. Daniel, I'm not taking your money. It's not about taking money. It's about practical solutions to practical problems. It's about you trying to fix things by throwing resources at them, which is exactly what Claire accused you of doing. He crossed his arms. I appreciate the offer, really, but this is my fight. She's only doing this because of me. She's doing this because she can't control the situation, and that makes her crazy. You're just the current excuse. Daniel's voice was firm, but not unkind. If it wasn't you, it would be something else. My job, my apartment, my mother watching Mia too much. There's always something. So what do we do?
We keep living our lives.
We don't let her dictate our choices out of fear of what she might do. He looked through the window at Mia, who'd gone back to coloring. And we protect Mia from as much of this as possible. How? By being honest with her. Kids know when adults are hiding things, and they fill in the blanks with whatever scares them most. He turned back to Ava. I'm going to tell her that sometimes grown-ups disagree, and that her mom is upset right now, but that it doesn't change anything about how much we both love her. And what do you tell her about me? That you're someone I care about, someone we both care about, and that whatever happens with the lawyers and the courts, that doesn't change. The simplicity of it struck Ava. No strategy, no manipulation, just honest communication with a 5-year-old who deserved better than to be a pawn in adult games. Okay, she said. But if you change your mind about the lawyer, I won't. But thank you. They went back inside. Mia had finished her drawing, definitely dragons, Ava could see now, breathing fire at what looked like stick figures with crowns. Is everything okay? Mia asked, too perceptive for her age. Everything's fine, sweetheart, Daniel said, settling back into his seat. Are you lying? No. There are some grown-up things I need to handle, but nothing for you to worry about. Is it about Mommy? Daniel and Ava exchanged glances. Yeah, it is. Is she mad about Ava? The directness of the question caught them both off guard. Daniel took a breath. Your mom is upset right now. But that's between her and me. It has nothing to do with you. But it's about Ava being here? Partly. But Mia, here's the thing. Sometimes adults have feelings about things that are complicated. Your mom has some feelings about me spending time with Ava. But those are her feelings to deal with, not yours to fix. Mia considered this seriously. I like Ava. I know you do. And you like Ava. I do. So Mommy's being weird about it? Despite the tension, Daniel laughed. Yeah, kiddo, Mommy's being weird about it. She's weird about a lot of things. Mia returned to her coloring. Last week she said I couldn't wear my dragon shirt to her house because it was inappropriate for a young lady, and I told her young ladies can like dragons, and she got mad. You shouldn't have argued with her, Daniel said, but there was no heat in it. I wasn't arguing. I was stating facts. Ava found herself smiling despite everything. This kid was going to be just fine, maybe better than fine. They stayed at the coffee shop for another hour, conversation drifting to easier topics. Mia told them about a boy in her class who ate paste, about her teacher's new haircut, about the field trip to the Natural History Museum next month. Normal kid things, blessedly uncomplicated. But eventually, reality intruded. Daniel's phone rang. His mother, asking when he was bringing Mia home. Time to go. Walk with us? Daniel asked Ava. We're just heading to the subway. They walked through the still damp streets, Mia between them, occasionally jumping over puddles. Evening was coming on, that particular October light that made the city glow gold. People were out, couples walking dogs, families heading to dinner, the city doing its usual Sunday evening thing. At the subway entrance, they stopped. When can I see you again? Daniel asked. I have meetings all week, but Friday night? Friday works. I'll get my mom to watch Mia. We could do an actual date. Dinner, maybe a movie. A movie on a first date? That's very high school. This is our first date? The recital doesn't count. That was reconnaissance. And last night? Disaster prevention. He smiled. Okay, first date. Friday. I'll pick you up at 7? I'll meet you. Where? They made plans. A restaurant in the village, nothing too fancy, somewhere they could actually talk. Mia was watching them with undisguised interest. Are you guys going to kiss again? She asked. Ava's face went hot. You saw that? I woke up when you came back in all wet. I didn't say anything because you both looked happy. Mia grinned. It was very romantic, like in movies. Oh my God, Daniel muttered. What? It was. We're going to have a talk about privacy, Daniel said. But you were in the living room. That's not private. She has a point, Ava said. Daniel shot her a look that was half exasperation, half affection. You're not helping. Never said I would. They said goodbye, Mia hugging Ava tight enough to knock the wind out of her. Then she and Daniel disappeared down the subway steps, Mia's voice echoing back up about whether they could get ice cream even though she'd had hot chocolate earlier. Ava stood there for a moment, watching the space where they'd been, feeling something she couldn't quite name. It wasn't happiness, exactly. More like possibility. Like maybe, despite everything, this could actually work. Her phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "Stay away from my family." Claire. She must have gotten a new number or was using someone else's phone. Ava stared at the message, anger rising hot and sharp. She started typing a response, then deleted it. Started again, deleted again. Finally, she turned off her phone and walked home. The week that followed was a masterclass in compartmentalization. At work, Ava was her usual ruthless self, closing the Seattle acquisition, firing 2 more executives who'd been coasting, pushing her team to deliver beyond what they thought possible. At night, she texted with Daniel, conversations that ranged from stupid memes to serious discussions about what they were doing, what it meant, whether they were moving too fast or not fast enough. Mia sent her 17 rock photos. Claire sent her 34 messages from various numbers, each one angrier than the last. Ava blocked them all. On Thursday, her lawyer called. "I got a very interesting document this morning," Robert Chen said without preamble. "A cease and desist letter from Claire Sterling's attorney, demanding you stop all contact with Daniel Hayes and his daughter." Can she do that? She can try. Doesn't mean it's legally enforceable. You're 2 consenting adults. Unless there's evidence of harm to the child, which there isn't, she's got no standing. He paused. But she's also filed for emergency custody review, and your continued presence in the situation isn't going to help Daniel's case. His lawyer said we were fine. His lawyer is probably right, but fine and optimal are different things. If you want to make this easier for Daniel, the smart move would be to step back until the custody situation resolves. And if I don't want to make the smart move, then you should know what you're walking into. Claire's lawyer is good, expensive and good. They're going to paint you as a destabilizing influence, question your motives, suggest you're using Daniel to get back at Claire. They'll bring up every business decision you've ever made that could be construed as ruthless or cold. They'll make you the villain. Let them try. Ava, no. I'm done letting Claire control my life by threatening consequences. If she wants to drag me through court, fine. I've got better lawyers than she does. This isn't about better lawyers. It's about what's best for that little girl. The words hit like a slap. Robert was right. This wasn't about Ava's pride or Claire's vindictiveness or even Daniel's rights. It was about Mia, who'd already been through one brutal custody battle and didn't deserve another. "What would you recommend?" Ava asked quietly. "Honestly, cool things off until after the custody hearing. See Daniel if you want, but keep it quiet. Don't be around Mia. Don't give Claire's lawyer ammunition. So hide. So be strategic." After hanging up, Ava sat in her office as dusk fell over the city. The smart move was obvious. Step back, let Daniel handle his custody situation. Resume things when the dust settled. It was logical, strategic, the kind of decision CEO Ava Sterling made every day, but it felt like running. Friday arrived too fast and not fast enough. Ava changed outfits 4 times before settling on dark jeans and a silk blouse. Casual, but not trying too hard, or at least that's what she told herself. She took a car to the village, arriving at the restaurant 5 minutes early out of habit. Daniel was already there. He'd clearly put in effort too. Nice jeans, button-down shirt that actually fit him properly, hairstyled in a way that looked casual, but definitely wasn't. He stood when he saw her, and the smile on his face made her stomach flip. "You look amazing," he said. "You clean up nice yourself." They were seated at a small table in the back, intimate without being precious. The restaurant was busy, but not loud, the kind of place where you could actually have a conversation. They ordered wine, appetizers, and for the first few minutes just looked at each other. "This is weird, right?" Daniel said finally. "Like, we've had dinner before, but this feels different. Because it's official now, a date. A date, he repeated, amused. Very high school." "You brought it up first." Their wine arrived, and they clinked glasses. The conversation flowed easier after that. Work stories, Mia stories, childhood memories. Ava learned that Daniel had wanted to be an astronaut until he was 12 and discovered he got motion sick on car rides. Daniel learned that Ava had almost dropped out of college to start a company, but her father had convinced her to finish her degree first. He was right, Ava said. If I dropped out, I would have been just another kid with an idea and no credibility. The degree gave me legitimacy. Do you think you needed it? The legitimacy? Yeah. The business world doesn't take 20-year-old women seriously. Still doesn't, really. I needed every advantage I could get. And now? Now I don't need anyone's permission, but I had to earn that. She took a sip of wine. What about you? If you could do anything, not just architecture, what would it be? Daniel thought about this. I'd teach. Architecture, maybe, or just design fundamentals. I loved school, loved the theory side of it. The actual practice. He shrugged. It's mostly compromises and budget constraints and clients who want you to copy whatever they saw on Pinterest. So why not teach? Money, benefits, custody arrangements require stability, and adjunct teaching doesn't count as stable. There was no bitterness in his voice, just acceptance. Maybe someday. When Mia's older, their food arrived, pasta for her, steak for him, and they ate in comfortable silence for a while. It struck Ava how natural this felt. No performance, no negotiation, just two people sharing a meal and enjoying each other's company. But reality was waiting. I talked to my lawyer this week, Ava said finally, about Claire's custody filing. Daniel's fork paused halfway to his mouth. And? He said the smart thing would be for me to step back, not see you or Mia until after it's resolved. Give Claire less ammunition. What do you think? I think it's probably good advice. Daniel set down his fork carefully. Okay, but I'm not going to do it. He looked up sharply. Ava, I know what you're going to say. That Mia comes first, that I shouldn't make this harder, that the smart move is to wait. And you're right, but I'm tired of making smart moves that leave me alone and miserable while Claire gets everything she wants. This isn't about what Claire wants, isn't it? Ava leaned forward. She's using the custody case to control you, to punish you for moving on. And if I step back, if I hide until she decides the coast is clear, then she wins. Again. But if you don't step back and it hurts my custody case, it won't. Your lawyer said you're solid. You've been a model parent. There's no evidence of anything wrong. Ava reached across the table, taking his hand. And I'll testify if I have to. I'll tell any judge who asks that Mia is happy, healthy, and loved. That you're a good father. That the only person causing harm here is Claire. But Daniel's fingers tightened around hers. You'd do that? Why wouldn't I? Because it would be messy, public. Your family would be involved. Your business associates would know. Claire would make sure of it. I don't care. You should care. Your reputation, my reputation is that I'm a ruthless businesswoman who eats competitors for breakfast. If Claire wants to add home wrecker to that list, fine. I've been called worse. Ava squeezed his hand. But I'm not walking away. Not unless you want me to. I don't want you to. The words came out rough, like they'd been dragged up from somewhere deep. I should want you to. Should be noble and tell you to protect yourself, but I don't want you to. Then I won't. They sat like that, hands clasped across the table, while the restaurant moved around them. Other diners laughed and talked. Waiters cleared plates. Life continued its normal rhythm. But in their small corner, something had shifted. They'd chosen each other, consequences and all. So what now? Daniel asked. Now we finish this very expensive dinner that I'm paying for. We're splitting it. And then we go for a walk and we figure out how to do this without letting Claire destroy us in the process. They did exactly that. After dinner, they walked through the village, past Washington Square Park, where street performers were still working the evening crowd. The temperature had dropped, October asserting itself, and Ava was glad for her jacket. Can I ask you something? Daniel said as they walked. Why are you really doing this? Not the diplomatic answer, the real one. Ava considered the question carefully, because when Mia looks at me, she sees someone worth inviting to her recital. When you look at me, you see someone worth running after in the rain. And nobody's looked at me like that in years. Maybe ever. She paused. I've spent my whole life being successful, being impressive, being the woman who has everything except anything that actually matters. And then I met you two. And suddenly, I wanted something real more than I wanted to be right or powerful or untouchable.
That's terrifying. Yeah. For what it's worth, it terrifies me too. Daniel stopped walking, turning to face her. I haven't felt this way since I first met Claire, and we both know how that ended. We're not them. How do you know? Because I see you, the real you. Not the version I want you to be or think you should be, just you. And that's enough. Daniel cupped her face in his hands, thumb brushing her cheekbone. You say that now, but when Claire really ramps up, when your family gets involved, when this gets ugly, then we deal with it, together. He kissed her then, gentle this time, not desperate like in the rain. A kiss that tasted like possibility, and promises neither of them was sure they could keep but wanted to try anyway. When they pulled apart, Ava's phone was buzzing in her pocket. She ignored it. You should check that, Daniel said. Could be important. It was her mother, 12 missed calls. I need to take this, Ava said apologetically. Her mother answered on the first ring. Where are you? Mom, what's wrong? Claire showed up at my house an hour ago. She's hysterical, talking about lawyers and custody, and you destroying her life. She won't leave until she talks to you. Ava's stomach dropped. Put her on. Ava, I don't think... Put her on. There was shuffling, muffled voices. Then Claire's voice, sharp and furious. Are you happy now? Hello to you too, Claire. Don't. Don't act like this is normal, like you didn't deliberately set out to ruin my life. I didn't ruin anything. You did that yourself when you sabotaged my date and mocked me in front of the entire family. So this is revenge? You're stealing my ex-husband to get back at me? He's not your ex-husband. He's just Daniel, and I'm not stealing anyone. We're two adults who enjoy each other's company. You have no idea what you're doing, Claire said, voice rising. You're going to destroy that family. Mia's going to get hurt. Daniel's going to realize you're just using him, and you're going to end up alone like you always do. The words landed like they were designed to, finding every insecurity Ava had ever had and twisting. Are you done? Ava asked quietly. I'm just getting started. Your lawyer is going to lose. Because Daniel is a good father, Mia is thriving, and the only person causing harm here is you. Ava's voice was steel now. You can file whatever motions you want. You can drag this through every court in the state, but you're not going to win. Not this time. You think you're so smart. I am smart. That's the problem. I'm smart enough to see through your manipulations, smart enough to fight back, and smart enough to document every threatening message you've sent me this week. So if you want to make this ugly, Claire, we can make it ugly. But I promise you won't like how it ends. Silence on the other end. Stay away from my daughter, Claire said finally, voice low and dangerous. She's not your daughter. She's Daniel's. And she invited me herself. So maybe ask yourself why a 5-year-old sees something in me that you refuse to. Ava hung up before Claire could respond. Her hands were shaking. Daniel was watching her with concern. That sounded intense, he said. She's at my mother's house, having some kind of breakdown. Do you need to go there? No, Ava took a breath. I need to not let her get to me. I need to remember that this is about her issues, not my worth. She was crying. When had she started crying? Daniel pulled her close and she let herself break down right there on a village sidewalk while strangers walked past and her sister raged to their mother and everything she'd built her life on felt shaky and uncertain. I'm sorry, she said into his shoulder. For what? For bringing all this mess into your life, for making everything complicated. You didn't make anything complicated. It already was. He pulled back, wiping tears from her cheeks. And I meant what I said. I'm choosing this, choosing you, whatever that means. Even if it means more custody battles and family drama and Claire making both our lives hell. Even then. They stood there holding each other while the city moved around them, two people trying to build something real in the wreckage of what came before. Ava's phone buzzed again. Her mother. Claire left. She's very upset. We need to talk about this as a family. Ava typed back. There's nothing to talk about. I'm dating Daniel. Claire needs to accept that. It's not that simple. It is that simple. Claire doesn't get to control who I see just because she used to be married to him. Think about Mia. I am thinking about Mia. I'm thinking she deserves adults who don't use her as a weapon. She turned off her phone completely this time. Come on, Daniel said. Let me take you home. They caught a cab back to Tribeca. The
the city lights blurring past the windows. When they pulled up in front of Ava's building, Daniel walked her to the door. "You okay?" he asked. "No, but I will be. Call me if you need anything. I mean it." "I know." She kissed him goodnight, soft and brief. "See you soon? Tomorrow if you want. I'm taking Mia to the zoo." "The zoo sounds perfect." She watched him get back in the cab, watched it pull away into traffic, then went upstairs to her empty penthouse. It felt even emptier than usual, all that space just for her, all that expensive nothing. But her phone, when she turned it back on, had a message from Mia. "Daddy told me we might see you tomorrow. I'm going to show you the penguins. They're my favorite." And just like that, the emptiness didn't feel quite so crushing. Ava fell asleep thinking about penguins and custody battles, and whether it was possible to build something good on top of something broken. She'd find out soon enough. The zoo was crowded for a Saturday morning, families everywhere, kids running ahead of tired parents, the smell of popcorn and cotton candy mixing with something distinctly animal. Ava met them at the entrance, and Mia immediately grabbed her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. "The penguins are this way. Come on!" She was dragged through the crowds, Daniel following behind with an amused expression. They spent 20 minutes at the penguin exhibit, Mia narrating every movement, every dive, every waddle with the enthusiasm of a nature documentary host. "That one's named Gerald," Mia announced, pointing at a penguin that looked identical to all the others. "He's shy, but very smart." "How do you know his name is Gerald?" Ava asked. "I named him last time we were here." "Pretty sure the zoo already named them," Daniel said. "Their names are boring. Gerald is better." They moved through the zoo, stopping at exhibits that caught Mia's interest. The red pandas, the flamingos, the butterfly garden where Mia stood perfectly still, trying to get one to land on her. It was ordinary and perfect, and exactly the kind of day Ava had never known she wanted. But reality had a way of intruding. Daniel's phone rang while they were watching the sea lions. He glanced at the screen, and his expression tightened. "I need to take this," he said quietly. "It's my lawyer." He stepped away, and Mia tugged Ava toward the sea lion pool, oblivious to the tension. Ava watched Daniel pace near a bench, one hand running through his hair, the way he did when he was stressed. The call lasted maybe 5 minutes, but it felt longer. When he came back, his face was carefully neutral. "Everything okay?" Ava asked. "Can we talk later? After we get Mia home?" That didn't sound good. They made it through another hour at the zoo, but the lightness was gone. Daniel was distracted, answering Mia's questions on autopilot, checking his phone repeatedly. By the time they left, Mia had picked up on the mood. "Is something wrong, Daddy?" "No, sweetheart. Just some boring adult stuff." "Is it about Mommy?" Daniel hesitated. "Yeah, but nothing for you to worry about." They dropped Mia at Daniel's mother's house in Brooklyn, a small brownstone that smelled like cookies and had photos covering every available surface. His mother, Patricia, greeted Ava with a warm hug that surprised her. "So you're the one causing all the fuss," Patricia said, not unkindly. "I'm sorry about that." "Don't be. Claire needed someone to stand up to her years ago. Glad it's finally happening." She turned to Mia. "Come on, troublemaker. Let's make those cookies you wanted." After Mia disappeared into the kitchen, chattering about needing extra chocolate chips, Patricia looked at Daniel. "The hearing's been moved up," he said before she could ask. "How soon?" "Wednesday." Claire's lawyer filed an emergency motion claiming immediate risk to Mia's welfare. Patricia's mouth thinned. That girl has no shame. "Can they do that?" Ava asked. "Just move it up like that?" "If they claim emergency circumstances, yeah." Daniel looked exhausted. "My lawyer thinks it's a bluff. That Claire's trying to rattle me, make me panic, and do something stupid. Is it working?" "Little bit, yeah." They said goodbye to Patricia and Mia extracting promises that Ava would come back soon to see her rock collection's new additions, and headed back to Daniel's apartment. The subway ride was quiet, both of them lost in thought. Once inside, Daniel collapsed on the couch, head in his hands. "Talk to me," Ava said, sitting beside him. "Claire's lawyer is bringing up everything. My work schedule, the apartment size, my mother watching Mia too often, and now you." He looked up. "They're going to argue that I'm prioritizing a new relationship over Mia's stability. That bringing you into her life so quickly shows poor judgment.
But that's not true. You've been nothing but careful. Doesn't matter what's true. Matters what they can make a judge believe. He stood, pacing. And the worst part is, they're not entirely wrong. I did move fast with you. I did let Mia get attached. I did all of this knowing Claire would use it against me. So what are you saying? Daniel turned to face her. I'm saying maybe my lawyer was right. Maybe you should step back until after the hearing. It's only 3 days away. We can… No. Ava, no. She stood, meeting his eyes. If you want me to step back because you need space, because this is too much, because you're having second thoughts, fine. I'll respect that. But if you're doing this because you're scared of Claire, then no. I won't be another thing you sacrifice to keep her happy. This isn't about keeping her happy. It's about protecting my daughter. By teaching her that love means running away when things get hard, by showing her that Claire gets to dictate everyone's choices through threats and manipulation. Ava's voice rose. What kind of lesson is that? A practical one. This is the real world, Ava. Sometimes you have to compromise, have to play the game. I'm done playing games. I've spent my entire life strategizing, calculating, doing what's smart instead of what's right. And where has it gotten me? Alone in a penthouse, respected by everyone and known by no one. She moved closer. You and Mia are the first real thing I've had in years, and I'm not walking away from that, not even to make Wednesday easier. Daniel stared at her, something breaking in his expression. She could win. Claire could actually win, and then I lose Mia, and it'll be because I was selfish enough to drag you into this. Or you could win, and Mia gets to see what it looks like when adults actually fight for something that matters. You don't know that's how this ends. Neither do you, but I'd rather lose fighting than win by hiding. He kissed her then, desperate and a little bit angry, like he was trying to convince himself of something. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. I need you to understand something, Daniel said quietly. If this goes badly on Wednesday, if I lose custody or even partial custody, I'm going to blame myself, and part of me is going to blame you too, even though that's not fair, even though you're right about all of this. I know. And you're still staying. I'm still staying. He pulled her close, and they stood there in his small living room while the afternoon faded into evening. Outside, the city hummed along, indifferent to their crisis. Inside, two people who'd spent years protecting themselves from exactly this kind of vulnerability held on and hoped it would be enough. Monday and Tuesday passed in a blur of preparation. Daniel met with his lawyer repeatedly, going over testimony, reviewing documents, preparing for every possible argument Claire's team might make. Ava worked from home, too distracted to face the office, fielding calls from her mother who wanted to mediate, from Jenna who thought she was being reckless, from her lawyer who reminded her that she might be called to testify. Tuesday night, Daniel called. I don't think you should come tomorrow. Ava's stomach dropped. What? To the hearing. My lawyer thinks it'll look better if you're not there, like I'm focused on Mia, not on you. That's ridiculous. Maybe, but I need every advantage I can get. His voice was strained. Please, just this one thing. She wanted to argue, wanted to insist on her right to be there, to support him. But she could hear the exhaustion in his voice, the fear he was trying to hide. Okay, she said finally. But call me the second it's over. I will. I promise. Daniel? Yeah? Whatever happens tomorrow, we'll figure it out. Yeah. He didn't sound convinced. Get some sleep. Wednesday morning arrived cold and gray, threatening rain that never quite materialized. Ava tried to work, failed, tried to distract herself with emails, failed at that too. By noon, she was pacing her apartment, checking her phone every 30 seconds. The hearing had started at 10. How long did these things take? An hour? 3? All day? At 1:47, her phone rang. It's over, Daniel said without preamble. And? Custody arrangement stays the same. Judge said there was no evidence of harm to Mia, that my relationship with you wasn't relevant to my parenting ability, and that Claire's filing was borderline frivolous. His voice cracked. We won, Ava. We actually won. Relief hit her so hard she had to sit down. Thank God. The judge actually called Claire out, said she was wasting the court's time and resources on what appeared to be a personal vendetta.
warned her that future filings of this nature might result in sanctions. Daniel laughed, shaky and disbelieving. She looked like she wanted to combust right there in the courtroom. I wish I could have seen that. It was pretty satisfying. My lawyer's already drafting a motion to recover legal fees. They talked for another 20 minutes, Daniel recounting every detail of the hearing, the relief evident in every word. When they finally hung up, Ava sat in her apartment feeling something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Real, uncomplicated hope. Her phone buzzed immediately with a text from Daniel. Picking up Mia from school. Want to join us for celebratory ice cream? Absolutely. She met them at a small ice cream shop in Astoria, the kind of place with handwritten flavors on a chalkboard and mismatched chairs. Mia was bouncing with energy, already covered in chocolate despite having barely started her cone. "We won," she announced when she saw Ava. "Daddy said we won, and I get to stay with him just like before." "I heard." "That's amazing. And I can still see you, right? Because Daddy said some people thought maybe I shouldn't, but the judge said I could." Ava glanced at Daniel, who looked apologetic. "I tried to explain it in kid terms." "You can still see me," Ava confirmed, "as much as you want." "Good, because you still haven't seen my newest rocks. I found 3 more this week." They sat outside despite the chill, eating ice cream and watching people pass by. For the first time in weeks, there was no undercurrent of tension, no waiting for the other shoe to drop. Just 3 people enjoying a Wednesday afternoon, celebrating a small victory in a much larger war. But the war wasn't over. Ava knew that. That night, after Mia was in bed, Ava and Daniel sat on his apartment floor, backs against the couch, sharing a bottle of wine that was slightly too cheap but tasted perfect anyway. "So what happens now?" Ava asked. "Now we live our lives, date, figure out what this is without Claire's threats hanging over us." He poured more wine. "My lawyer says she'll probably try again in 6 months. She always does. But at least we bought some time. Does it ever end? The fighting? I don't know. Maybe when Mia's 18 and Claire can't use custody as leverage anymore." He took a sip. "Or maybe never. Maybe this is just what co-parenting with her looks like." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." He looked at her. "Which is why I need to ask, are you sure you want to sign up for this? Because it's not going to get easier. Claire's going to be a problem for years. Family events are going to be awkward. Your mother's already trying to mediate. Your business associates are probably already gossiping." "Let them gossip. Ava, I'm serious. I've spent my whole life worrying about what people think, building a reputation, being untouchable. And you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of perfect. I'm tired of strategic. I'm tired of being alone because it's safer than taking a risk." She set down her wine glass. "So yeah, I'm sure. Even with Claire, even with the complications, even with all of it." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. "That's terrifying," Ava said. "Yeah, I'm falling in love with you too. Even more terrifying." They sat there in the dim light of his small apartment, the city's sounds filtering in through the windows. 2 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their respective disasters and decided to build something anyway. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel said. "That night at Marcello's, when I showed up, did you think I was crazy?" "Little bit, but also kind of relieved." "Why?" "Because you saw me. Not billionaire Ava Sterling, not Claire's successful sister. Just me, sitting there alone and humiliated, and you didn't look away." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Nobody ever just sees me. I see you." His arm came around her. "The good parts and the sharp edges and everything in between. That's what scares me. What if the sharp edges are too much? What if I'm too driven, too competitive, too—" "Then we'll figure it out, together." He kissed the top of her head. "That's what people do when they're building something real. They figure it out." The weeks that followed settled into a new rhythm. Ava still worked insane hours, still closed deals and fired people and built her empire. But now there were texts throughout the day from Daniel, silly photos from Mia, reminders that she had a life outside the office. She started leaving work at reasonable hours, started saying no to evening events that didn't matter, started prioritizing differently. Her board noticed. "You seem different," her CFO observed during a meeting. "Less intense." "Is that a problem?" "Actually, no. Your decisions are still sharp, but you're more collaborative, more willing to hear alternative viewpoints." He smiled slightly. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. The family was another matter entirely. Her mother invited her to lunch one Saturday, a summons that couldn't be ignored. They met at a restaurant in the West Village, expensive and quiet, the kind of place where difficult conversations happened over overpriced salads. You look happy, Eleanor said after they'd ordered. I am. Even with everything that's happened with Claire? Especially because of everything that's happened with Claire. Ava met her mother's eyes. She spent years making me feel like I was too much, too ambitious, too cold, too focused on work. And I believed her. But Daniel doesn't see it that way. Mia doesn't see it that way. Claire's having a hard time with this. Claire had a hard time with everything. Ava's voice was gentle but firm. I love her. She's my sister. But I can't keep sacrificing my happiness to manage her emotions. Eleanor was quiet, stirring her tea. Your father would have liked Daniel. He always said Claire didn't appreciate what she had. He told you that? Many times. Usually after family dinners where Claire complained about something Daniel had done that wasn't actually wrong, just not what she wanted. Eleanor looked up. He worried about you too. Said you were so focused on succeeding that you forgot to actually live. Ava's throat tightened. I wish he was here. He is, in the ways that matter. Eleanor reached across the table, squeezing Ava's hand. I'm not saying this will be easy. Claire's furious, and she's going to stay furious. Family gatherings will be tense. People will talk. But if Daniel makes you happy, if that little girl brings you joy, then the rest is just noise. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just haven't been ready to listen. Thanksgiving arrived with all its complicated glory. The family gathered at Eleanor's house in Connecticut, and for the first time, Ava brought Daniel and Mia. Claire was notably absent, claiming a prior commitment in the Hamptons with Marcus that everyone knew was an excuse. Mia charmed everyone, showing Ava's uncle her rock collection, explaining to her aunt about the moral implications of cheese, correcting her cousin's facts about penguins. Daniel fit in easier than Ava had expected, talking architecture with her uncle, helping her mother in the kitchen, being effortlessly himself. At one point, Ava found him on the back porch, looking out at the November Bear garden. You okay? She asked, joining him. Yeah, just needed a minute. He smiled. Your family's intense. That's one word for it. They love you, though. That's obvious. They love the version of me they understand. Successful, driven, focused. This version, the one dating her ex-brother-in-law and playing with his 5-year-old, this version confuses them. Does that bother you? Not as much as I thought it would. She leaned against the railing. I spent so long being what everyone expected, being the successful one, the reliable one, the one who had it all together, and I was miserable. And now? Now I'm happy, messy and complicated and probably making mistakes, but happy. She looked at him. Because of you, because of Mia, because I finally stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be real. He pulled her close, and they stood there in the cold while inside the house, Mia's laughter rang out over some joke Ava's uncle had made. She's going to want you at Christmas, Daniel said quietly. The school pageant, the cookie decorating, all of it. Are you ready for that? For cookie decorating with a 5-year-old? I've negotiated billion-dollar deals. I think I can handle cookies. You haven't met Mia's decorating style. It's less Martha Stewart, more abstract expressionism with frosting. Sounds perfect. December brought snow and school pageants, and Mia's increasing excitement about Christmas. Ava found herself at Daniel's apartment more nights than not, helping with homework, sharing dinners, slowly becoming part of their routine. Her penthouse in Tribeca started to feel like a place she kept her clothes rather than a home. One evening, while Mia was at a sleepover and they had the apartment to themselves, Daniel broached the subject. This is going to sound crazy, he started. Usually a bad sign. What would you think about moving in? Not right away, but eventually, like in a few months. Ava looked around the small apartment. Here? I know it's not your penthouse. I hate my penthouse. It's expensive and empty and echoes. She moved closer to him. But what about Mia? Is she ready for that? I think so. She asked me the other day why you have a different house if you're here all the time anyway. He smiled.
Kid logic is refreshingly simple. And what about you? Are you ready for that? I'm ready to stop pretending this is temporary. Ready to stop compartmentalizing my life into Daniel with Mia and Daniel with Ava. He took her hands. I want a life that includes both of you. Together. That's terrifying. No, that seems to be our thing. They didn't make any definitive plans that night, but the possibility settled between them, something to grow toward. Ava started leaving more things at the apartment. A toothbrush became toiletries, became half a closet. Her mail started being forwarded. Her assistant learned to call the Astoria apartment first. Claire, predictably, lost her mind. The messages started up again, angrier now, more desperate. Accusations of parental alienation, of trying to replace her, of destroying Mia's stability. Daniel's lawyer collected them all, building a file for the inevitable next custody challenge. But something had shifted in Ava. The messages didn't land the way they used to. Claire's anger was Claire's problem, not hers to manage or fix or absorb. In January, on a night when the city was buried in snow and Mia was asleep in her room, Daniel asked Ava a question. What did you think that first night at Marcello's? When I sat down at your table? Honestly, I thought you were insane. Or pitying me. Or both. And now? Now I think you saved me. Not from being alone that night, but from a life of being alone forever because I was too scared to be anything other than perfect. He kissed her, slow and gentle, and she thought about the journey from that restaurant to this moment, the recital, the rain, the custody battle, all of it. I need to tell you something, Ava said, and I need you to really hear it. Okay. I used to think love was supposed to be easy, that if it was right, it wouldn't be complicated or messy or require work. And when things got hard, I'd bail, tell myself it wasn't meant to be. She took his face in her hands. But this, you and Mia, and this weird life we're building, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's also the most real, the most worth it. Where are you going with this? I'm saying I'm all in, whatever that means. Custody battles and family drama and Claire's inevitable next explosion. I'm choosing this. Choosing you. Every day. Daniel's eyes were bright. I'm all in too, have been since I ran after you in the rain like an idiot. You were an idiot. Best decision I ever made. Spring arrived, slow and uncertain, like the season couldn't quite believe in itself. Mia's 6th birthday came with a party in the park. Friends from school running wild while Daniel and Ava tried to manage the chaos. Claire didn't show, but she sent an expensive gift with a card that said, "Love Mommy," like she was marking territory. Mia opened it, said, "Cool," and went back to playing with her friends. Later, after the party, after the cleanup, after Mia was asleep with cake frosting still on her face, Ava and Daniel sat on the apartment's fire escape, sharing a beer and watching the city lights. She barely reacted to Claire's gift, Daniel observed. Is that bad? I don't know, part of me wants her to care, to miss her mom, but another part is relieved that Claire's absence doesn't destroy her anymore. Kids are resilient, more than we give them credit for. Yeah, he was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? When you think about the future, what do you see? Ava thought about this carefully. Honestly, I see Mia's graduation, see her teenage years and the inevitable drama, see family dinners and school events and all the ordinary moments that make up a life. She looked at him. I see us. Together. Still figuring it out, but together. Ooh, even though I can't give you the lifestyle you're used to, the penthouse, the fancy restaurants, I don't want that lifestyle. I want this. She gestured at the fire escape, the small apartment, the sleeping child inside. This messy, complicated, real thing we're building. Daniel set down his beer. Marry me. Ava's heart stopped. What? Marry me. Not now, not tomorrow, but someday. When we're ready. When Mia's ready. But marry me. Choose this life, this mess, all of it, officially. That's not really a proposal. It's a statement of intent. The actual proposal will be better, probably. He grinned. Maybe. I might mess it up. You'll definitely mess it up. So is that a yes to the eventual proposal? Ava kissed him instead of answering, which was answer enough. They told Mia a few weeks later, carefully, making sure she understood nothing would change except maybe eventually Ava would live there all the time, and maybe, someday, they'd all be a family officially.
Does that mean you'll be my stepmom? Mia asked. If that's okay with you, Ava said, will you go to my recitals and stuff? All of them. Even the boring ones? Especially the boring ones. Mia thought about this seriously. Okay, but I still want to keep my rocks in my room. They're mine. Absolutely, your rocks, your room, your rules. Deal. Mia stuck out her hand for a handshake, which Ava took solemnly. Just like that, it was decided. Claire's reaction was nuclear, as expected. She filed another custody motion, this one claiming that Daniel's impending marriage constituted a substantial change in circumstances requiring review. The judge dismissed it in under 10 minutes, noting that parental remarriage was normal and expected, and that Claire's continued harassment of the court would result in sanctions. After that, the messages slowed, then stopped. Claire didn't disappear. She was still Mia's mother, still showed up for scheduled visitations, still paid child support. But the active warfare ended, replaced by cold civility. It wasn't perfect, but it was livable. Summer brought an actual proposal on a completely ordinary Tuesday evening after Mia's ballet class. Daniel got down on one knee in the middle of their apartment living room with a ring he'd clearly stressed over, gave a speech about how she'd changed his life that made both of them cry, and Mia cheered from the doorway where she'd been spying. Ava said yes through tears, and Mia ran in demanding to see the ring, and they spent the evening planning a wedding that would probably be small and definitely be complicated, but would be theirs. The wedding happened in early October, a year and a half after that disastrous night at Marcello's. Small ceremony in Central Park, just immediate family and close friends. Mia was the flower girl, taking her role so seriously she practiced her walk for weeks. Jenna was maid of honor. Daniel's mother cried through the entire ceremony. Claire didn't come. She sent a curt congratulations text the day before, and nothing else. Eleanor came, though, and pulled Ava aside before the ceremony. Your father would be so proud, she said, adjusting Ava's veil. Not because you're getting married, but because you're happy, really happy. I am. It suits you better than success ever did. The ceremony was short, the vows simple. Daniel promised to love her sharp edges and all. Ava promised to love him through custody battles and chaos. Mia announced to everyone that they were officially a family now, and she'd updated her emergency contact card at school to prove it. The reception was in a small restaurant in the village. Nothing fancy, just good food and better company. Ava's business associates mingled awkwardly with Daniel's architect friends. Mia ran wild with her cousins. Someone made a toast about love being worth the complications. At one point, Ava found herself alone at the bar, watching Daniel dance with Mia to some pop song that was definitely not appropriate wedding music. They were both laughing, Mia standing on his shoes like she had when she was smaller, moving in circles. Looks like you got your happy ending, Jenna said, appearing beside her. Is it an ending, though? Feels more like a beginning. That's very philosophical for someone who just got married. I'm drunk on happiness, an actual wine. Mostly wine. Jenna clinked her glass against Ava's. For what it's worth, I'm glad you didn't listen to me about playing it safe. Since when? Since I saw you with them and realized you're more yourself with Daniel and Mia than you've ever been in a boardroom. She smiled. Turns out love doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave. Daniel caught Ava's eye from across the room, mouthed, "Come here, lab," and she did, leaving her wine at the bar, joining her husband, that word still felt surreal, and her stepdaughter, equally surreal, on the dance floor. Can I tell you something? Daniel said, pulling her close while Mia danced around them. Always. I'm glad Marcus Chen stood you up. Ava laughed. That's a weird thing to say at our wedding. Is it? If he'd shown up, if that night had gone differently, we wouldn't be here. But we might have found each other anyway. Maybe, but I like this version. The messy, imperfect, started with pity pizza version. It wasn't pity pizza. It was definitely pity pizza. Mia crashed into both of them, demanding they lift her up, and they did, holding her between them while the music played and the party continued around them. In that moment, surrounded by people they loved, celebrating something they'd built from wreckage and hope, Ava understood something fundamental. Love wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about having everything figured out or following the right path. It was about choosing to show up day after day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. It was about a man who ran after you in the rain, a little girl who invited you to her recital, a family built not from blood but from choice. It was about being brave enough to be seen, all of you. The success and the failure, the strength and the vulnerability, the sharp edges and the soft center you'd spent years protecting. 6 months after the wedding, Ava made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She stepped back from day-to-day operations at her company, promoting her CFO to CEO and taking a board position instead. It meant less money, less power, less of the prestige she'd spent years accumulating. It also meant having dinner with her family most nights. Meant being there for Mia's school events without juggling conference calls. Meant actually living instead of just achieving. "Are you sure about this?" Jenna asked over lunch when Ava told her. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." "What will you do with all that free time?" "I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe something completely different." Ava smiled. "Isn't that terrifying?" "That's growth, babe. Different flavor of terrifying." The announcement made industry news. Ava Sterling stepping back from the company she'd built. Speculation ran rampant. Was she sick? Pushed out? Having a breakdown? She ignored all of it. Instead, she picked up Mia from school, helped with homework she barely understood, learned to cook meals that were only occasionally burnt. She went to Daniel's office events, met his colleagues, became part of his world, instead of just pulling him into hers. She wasn't perfect at any of it. She still worked too much sometimes, still prioritized wrong, still had moments where the need for control overwhelmed everything else. But Daniel would call her on it. "You're doing the thing again." "What thing?" "The thing where you try to solve everything instead of just being present." And she'd stop. Reset. Try again. Mia turned 7, then 8. Started asking complicated questions about why her mom didn't come around much, why some kids at school had parents who lived together, why families looked so different. Ava and Daniel answered as honestly as they could. Sometimes families broke. Sometimes they rebuilt into something new. Sometimes love meant accepting imperfection and choosing each other anyway. "Like you and Daddy?" Mia asked one night. "Exactly like us." "And Mommy?" "Your mom loves you. She just shows it differently than we do." "That's okay. I love her too, but I like living here better." Small victories, small truths, small moments that built into something bigger than Ava had ever imagined possible. Years passed. Mia grew. The business evolved without Ava at the helm, proving she'd built something sustainable, something that didn't require her constant control. Daniel's architecture career picked up, aided by a commission Ava helped secure through her connections, though she let him believe it was all his own merit. Claire eventually remarried to someone who wasn't Marcus Chen. The custody battles faded into occasional disagreements, then into actual co-parenting. She never became friendly with Ava, but the active hostility cooled into distant civility. At family gatherings, they occupied different spaces. Claire with her new husband, her perfect life narrative. Ava with Daniel and Mia, their imperfect but honest reality. Eleanor, watching them at Thanksgiving 5 years after that first disastrous dinner, pulled Ava aside. "You know what I've learned?" her mother said. "What?" "Success isn't about having everything. It's about knowing what matters and holding on to it." She nodded toward Daniel and Mia, arguing good-naturedly about whether mashed potatoes needed gravy. "You figured that out, finally." "Took me long enough." Better late than never. That night, driving home through city streets still decorated with autumn leaves, Mia asleep in the back seat and Daniel's hand warm in hers, Ava thought about the path that had led here. The humiliation at Marcello's, the recital, the custody battles, all of it. She wouldn't change any of it. Because here's what she'd learned. Sometimes the worst moments crack you open to the best possibilities. Sometimes being stood up leads to being found. Sometimes the family you build is stronger than the one you're born into. Sometimes love doesn't look like you expected, doesn't arrive wrapped in perfection and certainty. Sometimes it shows up messy and complicated, attached to a 5-year-old with a rock collection and a single dad with an impossible ex-wife. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to say yes anyway, it becomes the realest thing you've ever known. Ava had spent years building an empire. But this, the sleeping child, the patient husband, the small apartment they'd turned into a home, this was what actually made her rich. Not the penthouse or the board position or the billions in the bank. This, right here, this messy, imperfect, absolutely real life. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Ava Sterling, now Ava Hayes, though she kept Sterling for business, wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop, wasn't planning 3 moves ahead, wasn't building walls against inevitable disappointment. She was just living, loving, showing up, being brave enough to be seen. And that made all the difference.